Alright guys, Fuller coming to you with another video. Shout outs to the whole LDBC. If you like this video, please feel free to like the video, and please feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to. It's always by choice, never by force though. So since we're dealing in the month of Black History, although I believe it's important to always do history of great blacks that blaze the trail. I was just thinking about some things, because for those of y'all who don't know, I was raised as a Muslim, Muslim household. I went to, in the village, I did Quranic school, Islamic school in the village. When you I don't know if you've seen it in Africa where you memorize text off the wooden board. I did that a little bit, as a youth before I left. And, my parents always encouraged me to, stick to the script, but they didn't discourage me reading more into things and, learning things about it. And the more I learned about the Islam, the more I found out, the blacker it gets, despite the narrative that we see so often pushed down our throats. And that narrative is anti-blackness. I mean, there's been many of times where I have, experienced that, anti-blackness in Islam. You may pull out an Arabic manuscript and, like an Indian or a Pakistani or an Arab may say, "Oh, you can read that?" Like as if like you're not supposed to learn to read or write Arabic as a black person, And another narrative that you will see is the stereotype of, blacks being, of course, thuggish, lazy, promiscuous, and things like that. Most of the Arabs and Pakistanis have bought those stereotypes, and they put them upon you most of the time. Even when you have the greeting, when they do the greeting to you, it's often insincere, and I've learned that just comes with the territory. At the time of the Prophet, upon him be peace, that was going on. And I'm going to get into these kind of things about the anti-blackness. The thing is, in the original sources, in the original texts, and they're not going to tell you this. Nobody's going to tell you these things. You got to research it yourself to find out. Because back in the day, there were sincere scholars who would tell you this. But the creation of the first man, for example, or the first man we know of, let's just keep it a buck. The first man that we understand to have existed, but there were many more, trust me. Adam, he was made out of black clay. So what color is he going to be if he's made out of black clay? There's a story about Musa where he does a miracle, and his hand basically goes somewhere, and then once it comes out of the place, his hand is white. Okay? So if his hand turns white, what color does that make him then in the first place? And I'm just going to be real. When you go to Senegal, when you go to Timbuktu, when you go to these places, all places in which I have been myself and read the history, most of the early Islamic figures were black. or had that black gene in them. For example, Omar al-Khattab, one of the prominent companions, the second Khalifa. His father was 3/4 Ethiopian. And they have this in the original history that they try to hide. Ali ibn Abi Talib. When you look at the history, they say Kana Rajul Adam, which means he was black. He was dark. Or they say Kana Shadid al-Urma, which means he had very black skin. Okay? Who else? Abu Dar al-Ghafari. Adam. Who else? A lot of companions were described as black. What I'm trying to get at, man, is that the narrative, there is a narrative that, that Islam is anti-black and stuff like that. But the reality is that the Muslims are anti-black. And that some of these insincere scholars that came in the latter years are anti-black. Like the Ibn Khalduns, like the Ibn Sinas, like they're anti-black. But from the get-go, from the beginning, blacks were around Islam. And it wasn't just Bilal. All Islam was just a continuation and a refinement of the ancient Kemetic stuff. I mean, if you go to Egypt and go into pyramids or go into graves, you can see people prostrating. You can see ancient dark black Egyptians prostrating. Pre-Islamic. So all it was is just a continuation. But unfortunately, people have Aryanized it because I'm going to tell you something. When the Arabs, the original Arabs, I'm talking about the dark-skinned Arabs, the original Arabs, when they conquered places, okay? When they went to places, they did, most of the time they didn't bring no women with them. So when they went to Roman places, what do? They married the women. When they went to Spain, what did they do? They married the women. When they went to Persia, what did they do? They married the women. Like, for example, Bahrainis, they were originally Persians. Iraqis, they were originally Persians. But that admixture from the Arabs, it just, it got to a point where they were marrying so many of those women that the darkness left. Real talk. And as far as like Islam in Africa is concerned, man, there's again, when you go to these mosques and things like that, people don't realize that we had high civilization when it came to that in Africa, because all we did was we continued our original traditional principles and just refined them with the Islam. So there was, I mean, for example, the most prolific writer in Islam is a black man, Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba. He wrote 7 tons of literature with his own hands. 7 tons. I've seen most of the literature in Senegal. I went to his library. I saw the literature myself. That's why I don't really sweat this Arab and this anti-blackness from Arabs and anti-blackness from these other people. Because of the simple fact, I know what time it is with what we did and the work we put in. There was one Arabic from my set, from my turf, Fulani tribe. His name was Abdullahi Damfodio. He wrote a poem on the rules of Arabic, okay? The rules of the Arabic language. He wrote 4,444 lines of it. This is high science, okay? I'm going to tell you something about this whole anti-blackness. They better be careful, because we're known to revolt when things aren't right. We don't care if you're Muslim or not. It's about being a man first. And I'm going to tell you, when the Abbasids were really doing slavery, like, because unfortunately what happened was there was like the anti-blackness in Islam got to a point where black Muslims had a revolt. It was called the Zans Revolt, and it was a bunch of black Muslims who rallied together and killed the other ones who were like that, who thought that slavery was cool. The Muslim banner went out the window. They straight out just revolted based off of that, based off of principle. When you look in the early Americas, a lot of the revolts happened from Muslims. A lot of the slave revolts happened from Muslims who were Wolof, Mandinka, and stuff like that. Because, again, I'm going to say the real, true Islam, and I'm not trying to convince you or anything. I'm just giving my perspective of what I was taught, is a revolutionary religion, man. It's a revolution. It turns things upside down. You know, it goes against the status quo. It doesn't tolerate oppression. It's just, unfortunately, like all religions, people use it as a means of oppression. And I'm not gonna lie, some people, like conscious niggas, I'm just gonna say, they use consciousness as a means of oppression. And sometimes they oppress people in different ways, like by extorting them financially, by sexually exploiting them. And so, you know, it says in the it says in the Quran that if God wanted to, he could have made everybody believers, but he didn't. So with that being said, man, I don't go around proselytizing the religion or anything like that. If anything, I just still try to research more so I can find out myself, so I can get more answers. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying that, you know, for all for Muslims who are black, I'm just saying this, that you don't have to like feel bad when that shit happens, when like an Arab or a Pakistani Muslim oppresses you, like as far as like looks down on you. I don't mean like oppress you in the sense of like actually doing some harm to you. I mean it in the sense of, I want to say in the sense of like talking about you, not letting you marry his daughter and things like that. And I'm going to say this about that situation. If I'm not even tripping off of that matter, because of the simple fact that, you know, I really don't want an Arab or a Pakistani. I wouldn't want an Arab or a Pakistani wife to keep it completely funky with you. You know, I mean, it is what it is, you know. When you come from Africa and you've seen all the women that Africa has to offer, there's no need for you to look elsewhere. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. Especially women from my set, bro. I'm telling you, they're bomb. You know, different African women are bomb too. That can be another video in itself. You know what I mean? Don't get me carried away with how good looking Eritrean women look. And I'm not doing this in a means of looking at them as an object or lusting after. I'm just saying they look good. You know, there's no reason to be ashamed of going after one of them. You know, you don't gotta go after like Arab or Pakistani or anything like that. You know, because the reality is, although like And I'm just going off of like Malcolm X, what Malcolm X was, you know, saying about the religion, because Malcolm X was talking about the equality and things like that of the religion and what he saw in the brotherhood and things like that. But the reality, unfortunately, is quite different. You know what I mean? There's a lot of anti-blackness, and I don't trip off of it, man, because I know what time it is. You know what I mean? And I can easily. The thing is, I can easily pull out so many skeletons so many cultural skeletons among the Arabs and the Indian Pakistani community. The whole reason why I was talking to a Senegalese, one of my teachers is Senegalese, and I sat down with him, and he told me the reason why that the Abrahamic religions were revealed in the Middle East is because those were just backward ass people, and they needed refinement. He said, like in Africa already as it is, like I know we're presented as heathens and things like that, and whatnot, but the opposite was the case. You know what I mean? Especially in ancient Nubia, and also in those kind of places, Aksum and all those places, it wasn't no heathens at all. The heathens you would find in the bush. And even then, they had some kind of civilization that was pretty high. But that was just my take on the anti-blackness. I just made this video just to say don't worry about the anti-blackness. And I encourage you to research, and you will find that most of the prominent Islamic figures had some kind of black blood in them, or were just fully black as it is, and a lot of them say, no, brother, don't worry about that. We are just all Muslims. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it does matter, because the reason why it does matter is because y'all are quick enough to say something like, everybody knows the best scholars are Arabs, yeah, y'all are quick enough to say that. You know what I mean? And I'm just keeping my square. This is the thing about me. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I go off of the energy you give me. If you give me a certain energy, I'm going to give you that energy back. Okay? And that's just how it is. But anyhow, man, I just said what I wanted to say about this whole issue, man. Y'all just leave your thoughts, leave your comments about it, and let me know what y'all think. Have y'all looked into the archives? Because you gotta look at it. The Kaaba is covered in black. The stone of the Kaaba is black. I have many stories of like African scholars going to these places like Al-Azhar and things like that, and they know more than the teachers there. They know more than the professors there. El-Hajj Umar Tal, he did that. He knew more than them. But anyhow, man, I can go on about that, but I'm not going to go on anymore, man. Y'all just leave your thoughts, leave your comments, man. Let me know what y'all think, man. Fuller signing out. Injara.